Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at Transcendental Meditation, or TM. We're diving into Bob Roth's book, Strength and Stillness, to get a better idea of what TM is all about. And what's interesting about Roth, he's not your typical meditation guru. He's actually a suit-wearing, New York City-based teacher. So
Hmm.
that already makes his perspective on TM kind of unique, right?
Absolutely. And the way he presents TM,
Yeah.
it's really fascinating. He breaks it down in a way that makes it feels accessible to anyone. He kind of challenges that the whole idea that meditation is just for a select few.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely piqued my curiosity as well when I was first learning about this. And I think it's especially relevant today.
Mhm.
So many of us are feeling overwhelmed and just stressed out. And it seems like everyone is looking for ways to find some inner peace, right?
Yeah.
So let's unpack this a little. What exactly is TM? How's it different from other types of meditation? And what does the science actually say about its benefits?
Okay. So TM is a specific technique, and it's
Mm.
practiced for 20 minutes twice a day. And you do it sitting comfortably
Yeah.
with your eyes closed. And it's about effortlessly guiding your attention inward.
Effortlessly. Okay. So I have to admit, I've always thought of meditation as like, having to empty your mind and sitting in these like uncomfortable positions,
Yeah. The very common misconception.
Yeah.
And Roth debunks it right off the bat.
Huh.
With TM, you don't have to empty your mind. You don't have to contort yourself.
Yeah.
And there's no need to change your lifestyle.
Okay, that's a relief. But, how does this effortlessly guiding your attention inward, how does that actually work?
So TM utilizes what's called a mantra, and it's a specific sound, and it acts like a vehicle, okay,
Mm.
to gently draw your attention inward. And you don't concentrate on it, you just use it as a vehicle.
Mm.
And it allows your mind to settle down naturally. It's kind of like if you hear a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah.
You're just naturally drawn to it, right?
Yeah.
And to do this properly, it's really crucial to learn from a certified TM teacher,
Mm.
because that ensures that you're practicing it correctly.
So you're not actually like fighting your thoughts, but you're more like working with your mind's natural tendencies. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And this is actually what sets TM apart from other types of meditation. Roth actually categorizes meditation into three approaches. There's focused attention, there's open monitoring, and then there's automatic self-transcending.
Okay, so I'm familiar with some of the more, I guess, common techniques out there, but maybe you can break down how these categories differ.
Sure. So focused attention meditation requires a great deal of effort.
Mm.
Okay, it's like you're trying to focus on a single thought while you're surrounded by a whirlwind of distractions. It's like constantly having to bring your attention back
Wow.
to your breath, for example.
I can see how that would get tiring after a while.
It can be, yeah. Then you have open monitoring. And in this approach, you're essentially observing your thoughts and your feelings without judgment. And Roth uses the analogy of watching clouds drift by.
So it's more of a detached observation.
Right. And both of these techniques can be beneficial, but they often require a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas TM falls under the category of automatic self-transcending. And that provides, I would say, a more direct path to inner peace.
A direct path, okay. Yeah, that definitely sounds more appealing.
It does, right.
Mhm.
Think about this. Think of the ocean. You see choppy waves on the surface, right? But underneath those waves, there's this deep stillness. TM is like diving straight down to that stillness without having to fight those waves on top.
So it's about transcending those surface level thoughts rather than getting caught up in them. I like that analogy.
Yeah. And this is actually where we start to see the science behind TM's effectiveness, especially when it comes to reducing stress.
Okay, let's talk about that because, I know inner peace is a big draw for a lot of people, but I'm really interested in the tangible benefits. So, what does the research actually say?
Well, hundreds of studies have been done on TM, and these have been published in really reputable journals like the American Medical Association, for example. And they found that TM can significantly reduce stress, improve cardiovascular health, and even boost brain function. We're talking about reduced blood pressure, lower cortisol levels, improved sleep, and even a decreased risk of heart attack and stroke.
Wow, okay. Those are some serious benefits. But how does TM actually work to reduce stress on like a physiological level? Like what's going on in our bodies?
So when we perceive a threat, our body releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline,
Right.
and this triggers a cascade of reactions. Our heart races, muscles tense up, and we get that familiar fight or flight feeling. I'm sure you've experienced this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like tense muscles, racing thoughts, trouble sleeping, the whole works.
Yeah. So what's happening is the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that's responsible for, rational thought, it basically gets hijacked by the amygdala. And the amygdala is responsible for our emotional responses. So it's like our brain's CEO has stepped out, and the reactive security guard is running the show.
So our brain basically goes into panic mode.
Right, exactly. And when we're chronically stressed, our body is constantly flooded with these hormones, and this can be really detrimental to our health. But what TM does is it helps to calm the amygdala and strengthen the prefrontal cortex. So it brings that CEO back online.
So it's not just about feeling calmer, it's about creating lasting physiological changes that make us more resilient to stress in the long run.
Exactly, yeah. But it's important to note that TM is a practice. It's not a quick fix. Its effects are cumulative and build over time.
So it's like building a foundation of calm and clarity from the inside out.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating is that TM doesn't just reduce the negative, but it actually cultivates positive qualities as well. So things like creativity, focus, resilience, they're all enhanced through regular practice.
It's like a mental upgrade.
I like that, yeah. Think of it this way. Think of dipping a white cloth into a vat of vibrant dye, right? The first dip will leave like a faint hue, but each repeated dip deepens that color and it makes it more permanent. And that's kind of how TM works. Its effects become more ingrained over time.
I love that analogy. So it's not just about surviving stress, but it's about actually thriving in the face of it.
Absolutely. Now, I know we've touched on the science a bit here, but, sometimes real-life examples are a lot more compelling.
Right. So, what are some specific ways TM has impacted people's lives? I'm curious to hear about the real-world applications of this.
Yeah, let's dive into some of those inspiring stories next.
So let's hear about some of those real-world examples then. I know a lot of people who are struggling to manage stress, especially, in demanding careers, always on the go. So what kind of impact has TM had in those situations?
Well, take Katy Perry, for instance. She's in a world that demands, constant energy and peak performance, right? And she credits TM for helping her stay charged, boosting her creativity, helping her stay resilient. She says it helps her stay at like 100% battery, even with all the pressure of her career.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, it's not just about stress relief, it's about reaching your full potential, right? I'm also curious about those quiet time programs that Roth talks about in his book. He mentions how they've been implemented in schools with some pretty remarkable results. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. These programs, they incorporate TM, and they've really been shown to improve like student behavior, academic performance, and just like overall well-being, right? Take Visitation Valley Middle School in San Francisco. It was once considered one of the lowest performing schools in the city.
Yeah.
And it was plagued by violence and like really high suspension rates.
It sounds like a really challenging environment.
It was. But after they implemented this quiet time program, they saw a dramatic shift. Suspension rates plummeted, academic performance improved, and there was a noticeable change in the whole school climate.
So it sounds like TM really helped to create a more positive and supportive learning environment, not just for the students, but for the teachers as well, right?
Exactly. And it's not just anecdotal evidence either.
Right.
The University of Chicago Crime Lab, which focuses on reducing violence, conducted a study on TM's impact in Chicago public schools. And they found that students who practiced TM felt less stressed, more focused, and they felt better equipped to handle, difficult situations. And they also observed a decrease in violence and disciplinary issues.
That's incredible. It seems like the potential benefits extend far beyond just the individual, right? Are there any other examples of TM being used to address, these kinds of social issues?
Well, the U.S. military has also been exploring TM as a treatment option for veterans who are struggling with PTSD, and initial research has shown really promising results. Veterans are experiencing significant reductions in PTSD symptoms, improved sleep, and just a greater sense of well-being.
Yeah, that's really powerful. It's amazing to see how this practice can be applied in so many different ways to promote, peace and well-being. Now, Roth also talks about this idea of cosmic consciousness, or like supermind, in his book. I have to admit, those terms sound a bit out there to me. Can you maybe break down what that actually means?
Sure. So essentially it refers to this heightened state of consciousness that can emerge through consistent TM practice. Dr. Norman Rosenthal, who's a prominent psychiatrist, and he's written extensively about TM, he describes the supermind as this state of reduced stress, enhanced mental clarity, and just greater emotional well-being. So think of it as unlocking, like a hidden reserve of potential within yourself.
So it's about reaching a higher level of functioning, basically. But does Roth share any stories about individuals who have achieved this state through TM? Are there any examples?
Yeah, he highlights the experiences of people from all walks of life.
Right.
For instance, Jerry Seinfeld, who's been practicing TM for years, he found that doubling his practice significantly boosted his energy levels.
Interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are constantly feeling drained, especially in, today's fast-paced world.
Right. And Hugh Jackman, who's constantly navigating the pressures of Hollywood, credits TM for helping him stay grounded and present amidst all that chaos.
It makes you wonder, right? If people with, seemingly perfect lives find value in TM, what could it do for the rest of us,
Exactly. And there's this great story about a high-powered lawyer who travels frequently for work. So after a really demanding trip to California, she had to deliver a presentation, hop on a red-eye back to New York, and then go straight into another crucial meeting.
That sounds exhausting. I can barely function after a cross-country flight.
I know, right? So, she was running on fumes. But instead of collapsing, she decided to meditate in a taxi on the way to her meeting.
Meditating in a taxi, that's impressive.
Right. And she found that this short meditation session gave her the focus and the energy she needed to just nail that meeting. Yeah, it's a testament to how TM can provide a reset, even in the most hectic situations.
It shows that you don't need a perfectly serene environment to benefit from TM. You can incorporate it into your everyday life, even in a chaotic city like New York. But I have to ask, is there a downside to all of this? Is there anything that, listeners should be aware of before jumping in?
Well, I think it's always wise to approach any new practice with a healthy dose of skepticism and to do your own research, right? While the research on TM is promising, it's true that more studies are needed to fully understand its mechanisms and confirm its effectiveness for, various conditions. And it's also important to remember that TM is a practice. It's not a quick fix. Like anything worthwhile, it takes commitment and consistency to really experience its full benefits.
So it's not a magic bullet.
Yeah.
But a tool that can help you cultivate lasting change over time. It sounds like a lot of personal responsibility is involved.
Absolutely. And while TM can be a powerful tool, it's not a replacement for other forms of self-care, like therapy, medication, or healthy lifestyle choices.
It's about finding what works best for you and creating a holistic approach to well-being, right?
Exactly. Now, while we've explored the benefits and the science, I think it's also important to understand Bob Roth's personal journey and what led him to become such a passionate advocate for TM.
That's a great point. His personal story might offer some valuable insights for our listeners as well. Let's delve into that next. Okay, so let's hear more about Bob Roth's background then. What led him to TM in the first place?
Well, Roth's journey is actually quite fascinating. He came of age during the 1960s and witnessed, all the social and political upheaval of that era. His father was a World War II veteran and carried, a lot of unseen scars from the war, while his mother was a very compassionate woman, welcoming, anyone in need into their home. And Roth himself, he was really drawn to public service, inspired by figures like John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy.
So he was surrounded by turmoil and searching for a way to make a positive impact. It sounds like a lot of people can relate to that feeling even today.
Definitely, yeah. And the assassinations of both Kennedys deeply affected Roth, leaving him disillusioned with politics. And he was also a student at Berkeley during a time of intense unrest, which further added to his sense of unease,
It sounds like he was experiencing the kind of stress and uncertainty that might lead someone to explore something like TM.
Exactly. And that's kind of what happened. He met a friend who introduced him to TM. And while he was initially skeptical, the positive changes he saw in his friend really piqued his interest.
So he decided to give it a try. What was his initial experience like?
Well, he describes those early meditations as transformative. TM offered him a sense of calm and clarity that he'd been longing for. He felt more centered, more balanced, and just better able to cope with all the challenges of university life.
It's remarkable how a simple practice can have such a profound effect on our inner world, right?
It is. And for Roth, it wasn't just about personal well-being. He noticed positive changes in his relationships as well. He felt more patient, more understanding, and more connected to the people around him.
Yeah, that ripple effect is something we've been talking about quite a bit, right? That sense of inner peace kind of influencing how we interact with others. It's pretty powerful.
It is. So inspired by his own transformation, Roth decided to become a TM teacher himself. And he actually traveled to Spain to train directly under Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Wow, to learn from the source like that must have been incredible.
It was a pivotal moment for him. It really solidified his commitment to TM and just fueled his passion for sharing it with others.
So where did he go from there?
Well, he started teaching in the Bay Area, working with really diverse groups, in schools, in businesses, and even at San Quentin Prison. And he saw firsthand how TM could benefit people from all walks of life, regardless of their circumstances.
Teaching TM in prison, that's quite a testament to its potential, isn't it?
Mm.
What an impactful way to make a difference in the lives of those who are often overlooked.
He found it incredibly rewarding, and it reinforced his belief in TM's universality and its power to provide hope and inner peace, even in the most challenging environments.
It's inspiring to hear how one person's journey can create such a ripple effect, impacting countless others.
Yeah, absolutely. And Roth's journey didn't stop there. He went on to co-found the David Lynch Foundation, which has brought TM to at-risk populations all around the world.
Right, the filmmaker David Lynch. I remember reading about his commitment to TM.
Yes. Lynch is a passionate advocate for TM and its ability to, transform lives. And the foundation has actually implemented quiet time programs in schools, provided training to veterans who were struggling with PTSD, and brought TM to communities that have been affected by violence and poverty.
It's amazing to see how Roth has dedicated his life to making TM accessible to those who need it most.
It speaks to the profound impact that even one individual can have when they commit to making a positive difference in the world.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive into the world of transcendental meditation. We've explored the science, the stories, and even Bob Roth's personal path, which has been fascinating. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
If there's one key takeaway I hope listeners remember, it's this. Within each of us lies this reservoir of calm, clarity, and potential. And TM offers a way to access that inner strength, empowering us to, navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. It's about finding that stillness within and using it to create positive change in our own lives and the world around us.
Beautifully said. And if there's one question that could spark further exploration for our listeners, what would it be?
If you could access a deeper level of calm and potential within yourself, what could you achieve?
That's a powerful question to ponder. We encourage everyone listening to sit with that and see what comes up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into transcendental meditation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.